Hi everyone, it's Kasia from Tarot Map, and I do have a few reviews that are overdue. First of all, I have been waiting, for parcels to arrive for a very, very long time, and then finally they slowly started coming in, and of course, as it happens often in life, a lot of them arrived kind of, around the same period of time, and then you get just overwhelmed with all the new decks, and in general, I just find myself quite uninspired recently. I just have really intense transits that I'm going through. Intense in the sense that I just feel heavy, I don't feel my usual up self and inspired and so on. So I thought maybe I just keep, just recording some things that I have to do. It's part of my job. So this is the second edition of Goliath Tarot Deck. If you have watched my videos for any number of time, I have been in love with the first edition of Goliath. But when the deck came up, a lot of people, had some advice, let's call it gently, advice to share about this deck. And as usual, none of the decks is ever perfect. As a creator, you know that you won't be able to make sure that everybody across the board is completely in love with your creation, right? As a creator, you'd really have to let go that premise of creating a perfect deck for everybody. So this is the first edition. It had the backs that a lot of people kind of decided don't really fit the deck so much, because the deck is black and white, and it kind of, for some people, didn't fit. And then there was the glossiness of the paper, which in this case I totally didn't mind. The paper was still really good. And then there was the size, that it was huge and hard to use, which I totally didn't mind in this particular deck, because it's shuffled well, it slides, but it's not too slippery. In general, I love this deck from the get-go. So this is like a mix of 78 tarot cards and also some oracle cards, as you saw, for example, card. Yeah, so I always use them all together because I love the idea. So this would be, for example, the oracle, right? The sacred fire. You can see this review of the first edition of this deck, which is not available anymore. So I'm just pulled it out to show you as a comparison what changes were introduced to the second edition, and how the second edition is also in its own right really beautiful and stunning. So this is a black and white deck, and for people who love color or who are not too keen on this particular style of art, this is probably not a deck for you, right? But if you like this type of decks, you are up for a treat. So this second edition arrives in a box. It's a large box, right? So it's two of my hands. And I think what was another issue in the previous edition was the guidebook. A lot of people said that, and rightly so, that the font was so tiny, it was really kind of tiring and hard to read. Like you just gave up on reading it at some point. So the book got bigger format. The font is still quite small, as you can see, but it's, like, for me, it's normal to read it now. It's not as overwhelming as it was maybe in the first edition. It's quite a lot of writing anyway, but the book is, he decided to do the book this way, so it opens up like this. I dig it, and I rarely use the guidebooks for decks anyway, so I kind of, to be honest, rarely reach for the guidebook, but still, it's there and it's beautiful and it's extensive. And then you can see that the cards are split into, you know, into piles, easy to come out. The plastic kind of inlay is gone, which was also a concern of some people from the first edition, and then the book lies on top of it. So the size of the cards compared to the first edition, so the first edition was, as I said, really huge and it was glossy. This edition is much smaller, as you can see. It's not glossy. It has this cool, it's not rose petal or anything, but it has this nice kind of buttery feel. It has changed backs. So this is the new edition, this is the first edition, and yeah, the size is much smaller. And if we wanted to show, like, this is Hoodoo Tarot Deck, so just the regular, you know, mass-produced tarot decks, it's just a little wider and tiny little bit taller, so it's quite perfect size, to be honest, even though I'm a sucker for that for that huge size in this particular deck. Not that I always like big sizes, I actually prefer this type of cards when you can actually easily use them, but in this particular deck I think it's just the artwork was so stunning. To see these big cards was amazing. But if you missed out on the first edition, you're still up for an amazing treat when it comes to this deck. So again, that's another difference. So the first edition was gilded in gold. The new edition, the second edition, is gilded in black, and it's really quite cool. I love when the decks are gilded in black. I don't know, it just looks so good. So let me just bring this a little bit forward. And again, I'm going to show you all the cards just so that you can see what this deck looks like, as you know, the second edition. Because of the lack of gloss, we also lose a little bit of the contrast, you know. So whenever you have gloss on the cards, that's because the colors pop up more. There's more vibrancy to the color. So because of the lack of gloss, we have a little bit more muted of this black and white, but the cards are beautiful and really, you know, nice to shuffle. It's a big deck because of the oracle cards, but if you were to take oracle out, the cards out, you can easily shuffle this deck like this. It, you know, it has like nearly 90 cards. It still shuffles. It shuffles cool, but if you take out the oracles and you just have 78 cards, it shuffles even better because it's easier to, you know, kind of keep in your hands. So let's take a look at the images. So this is, for example, part of the oracle. So it's masks and the hidden wolf. And there's another something that he did. So he took away, there were 3 types of fonts and 3 types of names. So there was like the tarot name with number, and then there was kind of the name that he, like a descriptive name. So the temperance was the pond of balance, and also the temperance in this type of font. So he kind of simplified it and now just used 8 of Pentacles and the descriptive name, which I like the descriptive names. I actually didn't mind this at all, but I think 2 is enough, like you don't need the 3 names. So this is part of the oracle, and we can see here masks and the hidden wolf. So something, you know, that shows as so gentle and so innocent suddenly comes out and scares the shit out of us, right? And so then I'm going to go a bit faster now because it's a big deck, but this 8 of Pentacles, the patient weaver, and I actually really enjoy those. The shaman, the medicine healer, is also part of the oracle. The wheel of fortune is the great wheel. So it's really nature-based. It's a beautiful artwork, very striking. The 4 of swords is the sacred space. 4 of cups, the wandering mind. I think it's one of those decks that really quite nicely mixes this kind of sense of feminine and masculine energies. and make something new out of it as well. It's not just pure black-white, but you know, you get the sense of gray tones and all these different feels to the deck. The Suspended Monkey, I love this card. Oh, this is so good. This came up for me recently. Ten of Cups, the Joyous Sky. The Fool, Eternal Vagabond. All the aces have a little bit different writing here. The Justice, love this. The Doves of Equality. And there's a Six of Wands, Goliath Hive, so it's like abundance. Two of Cups. It's part of the Rider-Waite-Smith when you have the stuff, you know, there's a couple and the stuff above them like this, and two intertwinings for snakes, so he just kind of enlarged this part, which is kind of cool. And Alchemical Marriage, Crescent Moon Cat, so for High Priestess. The Brand New Journey for the Six of Swords, that's pretty cool. Seven of Pentacles, Rewarded Frog, you know how you have to be patient to catch the fly. Nine of Pentacles, Tranquil Spotted Dove. Queen of Swords, King of Pentacles. So you won't see humans in this deck. I know that for a lot of people, this is a cool, good news. The Shadow Self, the dark Inner Swamp, that's the Oracle card. And I think also, if, you know, you have to be obviously as a creator drawn to like nature type of art, but if you are, you also avoid, you know, kind of doing a deck that is not inclusive, or doing a deck where you show certain social issues not in a very positive light, and so on. So I think in this case we kind of safe, at least of this side of story, you know, when we have to pay attention to how does it work. Temperance, Point of Balance, I showed this one. Page of Wands, Moonscaped Messenger. So this is the Emperor, the ruling father. Oracle card, Nature, the Seed of Life, I love that one. Nine of Cups. This is an extra card as well. Reminds me a little bit of this, you know, Tree Whisper Oracle or Carol Hetzer's Spirit deck, Spirit Speaks, I think. When you have, like, you know, guides, kind of when you do the symmetrical photo in and up. Ten of Pentacles, Oyster of Metatron, the Empress. It's always like this striking Empress, because it doesn't really quite this alchemical mother, right? But I remember even when the first edition came up, there was a lot of questioning why the Empress looks the way it looks. And if we want to just take a look at the book, just so that you can see how the book looks like. So it's the Imperatives, the Empress, Alchemical Mother. You get the keywords, you get planet, element, zodiac, stone, and there's a story that he, like his personal story that he writes. And for this card, I wrestled with many different conceptual designs and ideas, as it's of high importance to get the Empress right. I wanted something beautiful, dark, and of course a little weird. I'm constantly chasing a level of perfection in my own work that I know I will never reach, so I take my work and my creations very seriously. And just when I think I have it, the card will tell me to do something else completely different. And then I move in another direction, and I didn't see coming. All the cards in this deck talk to me and talk to one another in some way. So I knew I wanted to have a certain level of beauty in the shadow, but not go too far in the macabre, so it became so dark to my viewers that they maybe even find it grotesque. So it's a very delicate balance. So where is this about? So as you can see, it's kind of like a little bit like a written diary, which, you know, it's interesting when you have time to read through it, but then if you want to, here he said, after much self-debate, I finally settled on a beautiful white ethereal peacock, as the artwork for this card. I wanted a flowing ghost-like presence to her energy. I wanted her to glow in the dark. She's a mother and she lights her own way. Much like the hermit, she does not need to be surrounded by others. She draws her power from within. There are little glowing orbs derived from nature and the cosmos floating all around her in the dark, and these represent all the creative bubbling energies or souls that pass through her and are waiting to come into her to be birthed. She is the vessel, the spring, and the bridge from the non-physical to the physical world. Her ideas, her creativity, her omniscient presence are parallel to none, and much like her male counterpart, the Emperor, she is where the buck stops in the tarot as far as fertility. She's loving and kind, but at the same time hard and tough, so you cannot pull one over her easily. The Empress is a non-judgmental energy that sees you and understands why you do what you do. She sees everything in its divine entirety and asks you to bring forth what has been brewing and bubbling inside of you. So there's a lot of descriptions, and there also you get reversed keywords like smothering, overbearing in motherhood, needing to let go of control, neglect of business, neglect of home and children, and so on. So he speaks a lot about various aspects of the deck, of the card, from his personal perspective, but also, as you can see, it kind of gives you practical advice, so that's pretty cool. The Sun, I love this. 6 of Pentacles, the sacred white scale bull. 6 of Cups, reuniting water hole. 4 of Pentacles, part of the Oracle, karmic release. I love this card. King of Wands, the Tower, 4 of Wands, the beaming vessel, 5 of Wands, Ace of Wands, 9 of Wands, darkness before dawn. That's pretty cool. Queen of Cups, I love her. Looks like the comet that I just saw. Judgment, the transcendence. The Star, cosmic guide. Expansion, that's the Oracle card. 8 of Wands. 10 of Swords, the barren desert. Sacred Heart is the Oracle card, love it. Strength, King of Cups, Oracle, the Caution, 3 of Cups, 5 of Cups, the Ojibwa Catcher, Shadow Dream Catcher, the Hermit, the Devil, Hidden Strength, that's the Oracle, 8 of Swords, Magician, Alchemical Master, the World, Knight of Wands, love this, 3 of Pentacles. This reminds me of this, 3 Wise Masters reminds me of this European fairy tale. 5 of Swords, Scorpions, King of Swords, the Father of the Night, 10 of Wands, Karmic Soul Tribe, Karmic Soul Tribe, the family with whales, and that's the Oracle, Page of Swords, love her, the Queen of Wands, Cosmic Huntress, 7 of Wands, 2 of Wands, 3 of Swords, how did he call it? The Bleeding Raw Heart, 2 of Swords, 7 of Swords, Starseed is the Oracle, Page of Cups, Page of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, also very kind of darker, right? Knight of Swords, it's pretty cool. The Lovers, Pelicans, with flamingos, Knight of Cups, love this. The Sage, Oracle, the Hierophant, Master of Keys, 2 of Pentacles, and the Moon. And also there is this yes and no this yes and no oracle cards, which I'm not using when I read. I can use it maybe separate if I ever wanted to have, you know, one and no, or yes or no answer, but that's not how I read cards really. So this is the beautiful second edition Goliath Tarot Deck. Let me know what you think. If you have the first edition, which one do you like better? If you just have the second, what do you like? What do you think it's really interesting? How do you use this deck? Would be awesome to hear those stories. I use this deck mostly for myself, actually. I rarely read with it for people, unless I know that there's just this something that they have this trick into the macabre, into the, you know, that they like a little bit darker kind of voiced deck. And I'm not saying that this is a dark voiced deck, but it's definitely not the lightest deck I know. And it has a very honest, kind of deep voice, this deck, and quite a broad perspective. And because there is no humans, it really suits itself well for explorative questions, for creative readings, for going deeper without feeling so attached to our, you know, human or ourselves in general. So it gives you this kind of distance a little bit to the situation or to the story. So it's a really interesting deck, and I just personally love the artwork. So here it is, the Goliath Tarot Deck, second edition. Let me know what you think about it. Much love. Bye.